Take a look at this. Earlier this year, 300 billion of market cap evaporated, and everybody called it the SaaS apocalypse. Now we're 6 months later and we have Fable 5, Opus 5, Soul 5.5, so you'd think that SaaS would officially be dead. And I know you're probably thinking of all of the tools your team can build to replace everything. But I don't think any of these models, no matter how good they are, will replace all the SaaS that you're using in your business. Because the secret to building software was never the code. It's all about the things around it. The problem solution engineering, the security, the continuous updates, improvements, integrations, data, and a lot more that goes into building software systems that actually work. And a lot of the times, building these internal tools will cost you a lot more than the subscription money that you're trying to save. So how do you know when you should build versus when you should just buy the software? Well, in this video, we're going to use a 5-part build test to decide exactly when you should buy or when it's actually worth building. So don't waste 6 months building something that'll cost more that your team will never use. So I recently had a conversation with somebody in the real estate industry. They wanted to explore several different ways they could use AI. Now, one of the ideas that they had was to build a completely custom booking system. They wanted customers to see the available units, make bookings, and keep those bookings synchronized between different popular vacation rental sites like Airbnb, VRBO. Now, this is a great concept for an application. It's so good that they actually already found an existing SaaS product that could do exactly what they wanted. Their goal was to build something they could use to save costs. But here's the thing. The software wasn't going to cost them $100,000 a month. It was only $25 per unit each month. So this already caused a big problem. We immediately suggested that they just pay for the subscription. Why? Well, even at 50% occupancy, one unit would be occupied for about 15 nights per month. Now, when you divide the cost of the software, which was $25, by those 15 occupied nights, then the cost would be about $1.67 per occupied night. So all you need to do is just increase his price by $1.67 to cover the cost. Now, building, maintaining, and securing an equivalent application would have cost him significantly more money than just paying for the SaaS. On top of that, I asked him, could you increase the price by $1.67 without increasing your vacancy rate? And he said, oh yeah, I could charge an extra $2. So that's the solution. Now he would have been a net positive. So unless he had like 1,000 units, it really didn't make any financial sense to build out this full application. So this really starts flipping the question from how do I build to is it worth building? What is the return on investment? Let's say they decide to build this anyways. Now they got a new problem. They're no longer in the real estate business. They're in the booking software business. This is why so many build versus buy discussions go wrong. These tools make building more accessible, but they also don't consider the business impact and the ROI. So that's why the first part of the build test is business advantage. So does owning this software create a meaningful advantage for your company? Does it produce an experience your customer can't get elsewhere? Does it enable revenue? Does it protect a critical workflow or give you a strategic control that matters? Does it reduce costs to generate a positive ROI? Running a business or being in a position where you decide the best path forward, you're both an operator and an investor. You're looking for software to create leverage at a cost that provides a positive return. If the software performs a common administrative function in the same way it does for thousands of other companies, ownership may not give you any advantage. At that case, it's probably better to just buy. But if the application is part of the offer itself, a customer portal, a SaaS product, a unique marketplace, a specialized operational product, proprietary data, or a workflow that materially differentiates how you serve customers, custom development then is a strategic tool. Checking to make sure you have a business advantage can stop you from building software simply because you can. So now that you have that, let's take a look at the second. Is there a real unmet need? Before approving a build, test the alternatives. Can an existing product meet the core need? Can you configure it? Can you extend it? Can you connect two products so that information moves from one to the other without having manual handoff? If something isn't working, document exactly what's missing, why, and what the impact will be if you had that feature. You're going to need that for the next step. But if the products work, but your team is copying information between them, then your problem is probably integration, not necessarily that you need custom software. If the product handles 90% of the workflow and the remaining 10% is merely a preference, changing the workflow may be cheaper than owning the custom software. Build becomes credible when the requirement is truly critical and the available product can't scale, adapt, or integrate to meet it. There can also be regulatory reasons why you must have certain things that are just custom inside your organization. So we've been talking a lot about ROI. So this is where the rubber is going to hit the road. The third is, does the investment make sense after you account for the entire cost? Right now, software is moving so fast that you need to plan for updates within, I would say at most 3 to 5 years. So when you're doing your evaluation, use that as a time horizon for both. Look at the cost over the next 3 years. From the buy side, you got to calculate all of the costs. From the build side, you're basically going to have to do the exact same. So don't compare a $25 monthly subscription with only the first coding estimate. Compare 3 years of buying with 3 years of building, operating, maintaining, and improving. This is where scale really matters. $25 a month on one unit costs about $900 over 3 years. 100 units, obviously, that's about $90,000. 500 units, it's $450,000. Now, that doesn't prove that you should build at 500 units. It just shows why you have to run the actual numbers. Volume, vendor pricing, implementation costs, switching costs, and the value of owning the workflow can change that answer. So what comes next? Well, the fourth is, can you own the complete life cycle? In practical terms, somebody has to own the deployment, access, backups, logs, monitoring, patching, dependencies, incident response, user support, and the next feature requests. This can be an internal team or it can be a technical partner. AI can help with many of those tasks if you have a technical team with the right knowledge, but the team is ultimately going to be accountable for them. And if your organization is or is trying to become SOC 2 compliant, then new applications will likely fall inside the systems being described and examined. If it does, it'll require relevant controls, evidence around how it's being developed, accessed, changed, monitored, and operated, plus a whole bunch of other requirements. If nobody can name the person or team who will own the software after launch, this gate isn't passed. Finally, we're going to come to the last test. Can you deliver the right system at the right time? Do you understand the workflow? Are the requirements stable enough to be scoped? Do you have access to the data systems that must be integrated? Can the business participate in testing? Is there a realistic implementation and adoption plan? So yes, with Fable 5 and OpenAI's model Soul and all the other models, code can be delivered faster, but it also needs to be correct. If the business needs a solution next week and a proven product can be configured tomorrow, the opportunity cost of building will dominate that decision. If the requirement is strategic, stable, well understood, and not served by the market, then you might want to start considering doing a custom build. So there's always going to be a new product. There's always going to be a new model. There's going to be something else that's groundbreaking that changes what a small or large team can create and how quickly it can be created. But it doesn't replace what it actually takes to develop, build, run, secure, and maintain these applications. And you don't want to get so focused on building the next internal tool that you forget exactly what your core business is. Build when the workflow, customer experience, or competitive advantage is important enough to justify. The hardest part isn't the code. It's mapping the workflow, finding the real gaps, and choosing the best solution that actually solves it without creating a larger liability. And that's exactly what we do. So if you're trying to decide what your business should build, connect, or buy, you can click the link below in the description and book a call. And if you like this video, then I know you're going to want to watch this one right here.